They found her body in the creek. 6 years old, shoes still on her feet, face turned toward the mud. You're watching an unbelievable true story, where we only tell real stories. Not to scare you, but to prepare you. This happened in Kansas, 2025. Kennedy Jean Schroer, just a first grader. She was supposed to walk home. Half a mile, broad daylight. But somebody was watching her. Somebody she trusted. And that's how they got her. Every 40 seconds, a child is taken in the U.S. Most times, it ain't a stranger in the dark. It's somebody close. Somebody you think is safe. That's why we linked a family safety course in the description and pinned comment. It teaches kids and parents how to escape, how to speak up, how to see the danger before it's too late. Most danger comes from people kids already know. This course shows how to spot it and stop it. Now stay with me, because we're about to break down who did it, how they got away, and the one mistake that brought the truth to light. Let's get into the full story. Her name was Kennedy Jean Schroer, 6 years old, first grader, Kansas kid. She loved coloring. She loved playing with dolls. She liked to pick her own outfits for school, even if they didn't match. You know how little kids are, loud 1 second, shy the next. That was Kennedy, and she had this habit of carrying her backpack almost bigger than her body. You'd see her walking and think, how that bag not tipping her over? But she was proud of it. Proud to be in school. February 2nd, 2025. Baser, Kansas. It was a Sunday. Chilly outside. The kind of Midwest cold where the air stings your face, but the sun's still shining. People were inside cooking, watching TV. Just another weekend. Kennedy had been at home. Normal day. No warnings. No storm clouds. No sirens. But somebody she knew had other plans. See, that's the thing about danger. It don't always come kicking your door at night. Sometimes it comes soft. Sometimes it comes smiling. And most times, it comes from somebody you already know. That day, Kennedy never made it where she was supposed to. And by evening, panic set in. Calls went out. People started searching. Her face went from just another first grader to missing child in minutes. You ever seen a whole town hold its breath? That's what Baser looked like that night. Porch lights on, neighbors peeking out windows, parents holding kids tighter, praying it wasn't real. The cops came. The volunteers came. They searched the streets, the backyards, the fields, and then the creek. Not far from her home, not hidden away in some deep woods. Just a little creek where kids sometimes throw rocks in the summer. That's where they found her. Still, cold, face down, and the world stopped. Now let me tell you about Kennedy before that day. Because she wasn't just a headline. She wasn't just the girl in the creek. She was a real little person. She lived with her mom and family in Leavenworth County. She liked to play outside, even when the air hurt your nose. She was the kind of kid who drew pictures on paper and then taped them on the fridge like it was an art gallery. She had a giggle that came out of nowhere, the kind that made adults laugh too. She was 6. 6. At that age, you're still learning how to tie your shoes tight. Still learning how to spell your own name without asking for help. Still scared of the dark some nights. But she was brave. Little kids, man, they got that kind of brave you forget when you get older. She'd march into school with that giant backpack like, yeah, this is my world. And yet, all it takes is one wrong moment. One person with bad intentions. And that brave, giggling kid is gone. When Kennedy was reported missing, it spread fast. Phones ringing. Text chains lighting up. News alerts pinging across Kansas. 6-year-old girl missing. Nobody wanted to believe it. Not in Baser. Not here. This was supposed to be a safe place. But here's the truth. In the U.S., a child goes missing every 40 seconds. National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, 2023. Think about that. By the time you pour a cup of coffee, another child is gone. And most times, it's not a stranger. It's somebody close. That's what makes it so sick. Kennedy's family, they were shattered. Her mom begging, crying, asking anybody, have you seen her? Her picture was everywhere. Facebook, flyers, the news. And while the town searched, there was one person sitting quiet. One person who knew the truth. Because they put her in that creek. I gotta stop here for a second. Because this ain't just Kennedy's story. This is about all of us. We think, not my town, not my street, not my kid. But Baser thought that too. That's why we added a family safety course in the description and pin comment. It's not about scaring kids. It's about teaching them what to do when something feels wrong. How to say no, how to run, how to speak up. Because most danger comes from people kids already know. And this course shows how to spot it and stop it. Back to Kennedy. The night her body was found, the scene was quiet. Too quiet. Police cars lined up by the creek. Flashlights sweeping the ground. Officers whispering into radios. And her little form being lifted out of the water. Neighbors watching from a distance. Hands over mouths. Some turning away. Some dropping to their knees. That night, a whole town cried. That creek scene, it burned into people's minds. The flashing red and blue lights. The line of cops standing stiff. And her small body, covered up, carried away. That's when Baser changed. Overnight, it went from safe little town to place where a child was killed. And folks didn't know how to handle it. Now, let's talk about the police. Leavenworth County Sheriff's Office. They came in hard. They sealed off the area. Nobody in, nobody out. They treated it like what it was, a murder scene. Detectives started asking questions. Who saw her last? Who was she with? Did anybody notice a car? And you know how cops are. They don't just listen to words. They watch. They study faces. They notice the fidgeting, the slip-ups, the ones too eager to help. And in cases like this, they always start with the inner circle. Family, neighbors, friends. Because like I told you, most times, it ain't the boogeyman from the woods. It's somebody right there. Kennedy's mom, broken down, trying to answer questions through tears. Her family, shocked, confused, desperate. But detectives noticed something. One man, too calm, not crying, not asking, just there. That was the first red flag. And word spread fast. By morning, the whole town was buzzing. People on Facebook were pointing fingers. Somebody swore they saw a man's truck parked too close to the creek that day. Another said they saw Kennedy talking to someone earlier. And then the big one. This man wasn't a stranger. He was close. Some reports said he was a family acquaintance. Others said he was trusted enough that Kennedy wouldn't be scared of him. That's how he got close. That's how he lured her. Think about that. A little girl, 6 years old, walking with her big backpack, feeling safe. And the person who stopped her was not a monster in the shadows. It was someone she thought she could trust. That's the part that tears you up. Because how do you prepare a kid for that? How do you explain to them that sometimes the danger smiles? The autopsy came back, and it was heartbreaking. Kennedy didn't just fall in that creek. She didn't trip. She was put there. She was murdered. That word, it shook Baser like thunder. Murdered? Now, this wasn't a, maybe she wandered. This wasn't a we'll find her soon. This was a homicide, and the hunt for her killer was on. Cops moved fast. They pulled phone records. They checked cameras. They knocked on doors, every door. Did you see Kennedy? Did you hear anything? Who was around that day? And slowly, a picture started forming. A man who had been in Kennedy's orbit. A man who had reasons to be close, but not reasons to be trusted. And this man, he cracked. Now, let me say this. Police haven't released every detail to the public yet. Some of it's sealed. Some of it's still tied up in court. But we know enough to tell you the truth. This man confessed. He admitted he lured Kennedy. He admitted he killed her. And he admitted he put her in that creek like she was trash. You can feel the rage, right? Even now, saying it out loud makes my chest tight. How you take a little girl, a first grader, and treat her like that? What kind of sickness runs that deep? Neighbors were stunned. Some said, I can't believe it was him. Others said, I always felt something off. You know how it is. People remember red flags too late. But when cops put the cuffs on him, Baser let out a sigh. Not relief, not closure, just exhaustion. Because catching the killer doesn't erase the whole Kennedy left behind. Now, let me tell you something hard. Because this isn't just a Kennedy story. This is a kid's story, a family story, and it can happen anywhere. According to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, 2023, in the U.S., one child goes missing every 40 seconds. Every 40 seconds. That means by the time you've been watching this video, 2, maybe 3 kids are already gone. And most times, they don't come back. That's the truth. Kennedy's family, they broke. Her mom's words at the vigil still haunt people. She was my baby girl. She just wanted to go to school. Hundreds showed up with candles. The whole town lit up the night sky. But no amount of candles can bring her back. The man accused of killing her, he's behind bars now, facing charges. He'll see his day in court, and the family will have to sit there, listen, and relive the nightmare. But here's what I know. Even if justice comes, it don't heal the wound. The scar stays. The questions never end. And Kennedy, she never gets to grow up. Now listen, this ain't easy to say, but needs to be said. That's why we added a family safety course in the description and pinned comment. It's not a product. It's not a pitch. It's help. It shows kids and parents what to do if something feels wrong. How to escape. How to yell. How to get safe. Because 1 hour of learning might save a lifetime. But Kennedy's story doesn't stop here. We still got to walk through the trial, the evidence, the fight for justice, and the question no parent ever wants to ask. Could this have been stopped? Stay with me, because what comes next is just as heavy. The arrest made headlines. Not just in Baser, not just in Kansas, but across the whole country. 6-year-old girl found dead in creek. Man arrested. People everywhere read that line and shook their heads. Because deep down, everybody knows if it could happen in Kansas, it could happen anywhere. The man charged was Daniel Dewerts, 49 years old, not a stranger in the shadows, not some unknown drifter, a man from the community. He was booked into the Leavenworth County Jail. The charge, first-degree murder. The sheriff's office put out a statement. Kennedy was last seen alive the morning of February 2nd. Her body was found that afternoon in a creek near 158th Street and Donahue Road. And Daniel Wirtz was arrested soon after. That quick, that close, that horrifying. Now, picture the courtroom. The first appearance. Reporters packed in, cameras flashing. Kennedy's family sitting in the front row, holding onto each other like the benches might fall away. And then they bring him in. Daniel, shackled, orange jumpsuit, eyes blank. He didn't look like a monster. He didn't roar. He didn't snarl. He looked like any man you'd pass at a gas station. And that's the part that tears you up. Because evil don't always come wearing a mask. Sometimes it comes looking plain, regular, forgettable. The prosecutor stood up and laid it down clear. Kennedy was lured. Kennedy was murdered. Kennedy's body was left in a creek like trash. And Daniel Wirtz was responsible. The defense? They tried to stall. Tried to push things back, said he needed more time, said he had rights. But the family wasn't hearing that. They sat there, every word like a knife. Their baby girl was gone, and no lawyer in the world could twist that fact. The evidence started to come out. Cell phone pings, witness statements, cameras near the road, and most of all his own mouth. Because Daniel cracked. He confessed. Think about that. The man admitted it. No mystery. No maybe. He said it himself. But here's the sick part. Even with a confession, you still got to go through court. You still got to drag the family through hearings, motions, lawyers pointing fingers, what-ifs and maybes. Justice takes time. And for families, that time feels like torture. The town of Baser held vigils. They gathered at the school. They prayed. They cried. They set up teddy bears and flowers at the creek. And people kept asking the same question. How could this happen here? But that's the thing, man. There ain't no here anymore. It can happen anywhere. Your street, your school, your small town. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children said it best. Most danger comes from people the child already knows. In Quebec, 2023, not strangers, not masks, not monsters under the bed, but people inside the circle. And that's exactly what happened to Kennedy. I'm going to tell you something real. A courtroom can punish a man, but it can't heal a mother. It can't bring a child back. Kennedy's mom, she wakes up every morning and the bed is too quiet. She looks at the fridge, no new drawings. She looks at the door, no little shoes by the mat. That's the kind of silence no human being should ever know. In Kennedy's school, they tried to explain it to the other kids. 6-year-olds, man. Try telling them their friend isn't coming back. Try putting that into words a child can carry. Some of those kids cried. Some got angry. Some just stared, not understanding. And the teachers, they carried the weight too. Because every empty chair is a wound. Now, let me talk about Daniel for a second. Because people always ask why. Why would a grown man hurt a child? And here's the answer. There is no answer. Not one that makes sense. Not one that heals. Because no reason on earth can explain putting a child's body in a creek. The trial's still moving through the system. The lawyers are fighting over details. The defense is trying to keep him out of the death penalty. The prosecution is pushing for the harshest punishment. But no matter what the judge decides, it won't fix the hole in Baser. It won't fix the hole in Kennedy's family. That's why I say this again. We linked a family safety course in the description and pinned comment. It shows parents and kids how to spot danger, even when it comes with a smile. How to say no, how to get safe. Because no family should have to stand in a courtroom like Kennedy's. Now here's the part that sticks with me. At Kennedy's vigil, a little girl stood holding a candle. She couldn't stop crying. When a reporter asked if she was okay, she whispered, "She was my best friend." That's the world we're left with. Little kids holding candles. Little kids saying goodbye before they even learn how to spell goodbye. But this story ain't finished yet, because the trial's not over. The sentencing is coming, and the family, they'll have to face him again. And maybe, just maybe, justice will land heavy enough to matter. The trial dragged on. Every week, new motions, new dates, more waiting. And for Kennedy's family, waiting was the hardest part. Because waiting means reliving. Waiting means pictures on the wall that never age. Waiting means sitting in court while the man who killed your baby gets to breathe, gets to talk, gets to move. And every time they looked at him, the same question, why? But no answer came, because there is no answer. The town of Baseman had cracked wide open. For a place that small, something like this leaves scars. Parents started walking their kids to school. People locked doors they never locked before. Kids stopped playing outside like they used to. The creek where Kennedy was found, it turned into a place nobody wanted to pass. Not a place of summer fun anymore. Not a place to throw rocks or chase frogs. It became a place of shadows. At the school, Kennedy's desk stayed empty. The teachers put up her artwork on the wall. Crayon drawings of hearts, rainbows, stick figures holding hands. Simple stuff, but heavy now. Every color looked like a goodbye. And the other kids, they had questions no adult could answer. Why did this happen? Where is Kennedy now? Are we safe? And you can't lie to a child, because they see through lies. They feel it. So teachers hugged them. Parents held them. And Baser learned the hard way. Safety is never promised. The funeral was packed. The whole church filled. Family in the front, sobbing. Friends in the middle, stunned. Strangers in the back, crying for a child they never met. The tiny casket rolled down the aisle. White, too small. 6 years of life, carried in silence. The pastor's voice cracked when he said her name. Because how do you preach hope when the devil just came through your town? And still, the case pressed on. The state of Kansas versus Daniel D. Wirtz. The prosecutors laying out the timeline. Step by step. Kennedy alive. Kennedy lured. Kennedy gone. And Daniel sat there, eyes down, shackled. No remorse. No tears. Nothing. Like Kennedy's life meant nothing. And that's the part that burned people the most. Because if he had cried, if he had begged, maybe they'd see a man. But he gave him nothing. And nothing feels worse than nothing. The prosecutor promised justice. The family prayed for it. The community demanded it. But let me tell you something raw. Even if he gets life, even if he never breathes free air again, even if justice falls heavy and clean, Kennedy is still gone. And her family still lives with silence where laughter used to be. And that's the part of true crime nobody likes to say out loud. Justice is not healing. Justice is not peace. Justice is just a word. The truth is, every victim leaves behind a broken world. And the people left behind, they gotta wake up every day and live inside it. The numbers don't lie. According to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, 2023, in the U.S., a child goes missing every 40 seconds. That's 90 kids an hour, over 2,000 a day. And Kennedy's story is just one of them. At the vigil, Kennedy's mom said something that stuck with me. She stood in front of the crowd, holding a candle, tears running, voice shaking. And she said, "If you love somebody, hold them tighter tonight, because you never know if tomorrow is promised." And the crowd, silent. Nobody moved, because everybody knew she was right. Now listen to me. I don't tell this story to scare you. I tell it to prepare you. That's why we added a family safety course in the description and pin comment. It's 1 hour. 1 hour that teaches kids and parents how to spot danger, even when it looks familiar. How to say no, how to run, how to survive. Because Kennedy's story, it shouldn't be your story. So where are we now? Daniel D. Wirt sits in jail, waiting on the court to finish its work. Kennedy's family sits in grief, waiting on a peace they'll never fully get. In the town of Baser, it waits too, waiting for the day it can breathe again. But Kennedy's name, it stays. In her school, in her family, in the creek that will never be the same. 6 years old, gone too soon, but never forgotten.